Hey, Junaid. How you doing? Oh, 1 second. Hold on. Let me change myself. On mute. Oops. All right. Let's see. Recording, separate, audio. Good there, good there. Okay, can you hear me? Okay. I'm not sure why I'm not hearing you. It says it's all set up in the system.
I had the wrong microphone setup, of course.
Ah, there we go. I hear you. Music to my ears.
Sweet.
Hey, so sorry it took me so long to get on. Literally, we had a Windows update earlier, which is usually fine, but every now and then, I don't know if you've seen this with your mic, every now and then it like changes the bit rate for the microphone and it like screws
Sure.
up the settings. So
Got it.
I'm going,
Yeah.
I just tested in Audacity before this and it was just like, error with your mic. And I'm like, oh, perfect timing. So sorry about that. I know I should have done it earlier, but here we are.
No problem,
I'm
man.
happy to hang on later as much time as you want.
No, absolutely. Sounds good. So you've probably seen my videos come through on the run of the show and how I run the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's great. How's my video coming through? Because I have lighting here that I can adjust. I know I got a little shadow situation here, but let me
Yeah,
know
because
if
you're
there's
too
anything I
close to
can
the
do
mic,
to.
too close to the wall. That's the problem. Hold
Yeah,
on one
I
sec. My
know.
wife is calling.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So yeah, I mean, if you're not happy with the video, um you want to spend some more time because I do have another podcast recording after this one.
Okay. No, I'm cool with this. Video is a work in progress process for me, however you say that. So, I think we should still do it.
Okay.
If you're cool with it, we'll just
Yeah, I'm
I
cool
mean
with
you
it.
can
I mean,
you can make fun of my shadow if you want.
I'll be talking to your shadow.
Perfect. My shadow is twice as corny as I am, so that's
Just
perfect.
kidding. Yeah, no worries. All right, so it's gonna be not too much. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Journey, hacks to take away, quick questions at the end. So let's jump right in. Welcome back to another episode here on Hacks and Hobbies, and today my guest is Max Branstetter. I got it right.
You
But
did.
sometimes you're like, okay, how do we say the name? And it's always a good practice to ask your guest how to pronounce your name. But I was like, you know what? I've seen this name plenty of time. I know how to pronounce it. So, Max, Max, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast, man.
Of course, and thank you so much. And actually, you're on such a roll with my last name. If you just want to call me Branstetter the entire interview instead of Max, like we can do that too. So that works.
All right, Mr. Branstetter. What's going on is on the episode, I love to discover our, origin stories for my guests and where, what big change they did in their lives to get to where they are today. Because we go through so many different journeys. We go through so many different um, levels of growth that sometimes we forget where we come from. So I love to get your origin story down so that my audience can also listen and like, oh wow, Max started with this. I could totally do what he's doing. So Max, take it away, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, I think for me, I always point back to the fact that I grew up with a family business, so I had a very what I call non-traditional upbringing, based on the fact that I didn't come home from school every day and wait for my parents to get home from work and catch up on their day that day. Like, I got home from school every day, ran downstairs to my parents where their office was for our family business, out of our basement, and would catch up that way. So they were kind of there working from home. They started working from home a long time before a lot of people did. And I just have very fond memories of growing up. My parents started this business called Hippo Direct the year I was born. And I just love being surrounded by the business and learning about family business, learning about entrepreneurship. And it kind of sparked something in me from an early age that I knew I'd love to start a business one day, but I had absolutely no idea what sort of kind of business. I mean, if you asked me when I was a kid, I probably would have said something dealing with sports, because I always loved sports, and maybe like there's something in the sports business world that I could do if I couldn't become a professional baseball player, which
Yeah.
obviously is not true. But growing up with that is super impactful and shaped my career, and still super close to my parents to this day. Obviously on the personal side, but also from the business side, and frequent chats with him about the business side of things. So that was very foundational for me.
And I totally love that, because some of these things, some of the upbringings that we are in, shapes where we end up with, depending on the positive or negative impact it has on our lives. And obviously, you had a very your parents had a very positive impact on your life, where you're like, I get to hang out with my parents every single day. And I'm the same way. My kids come in, they're done when they're coming home from school, they come down here, hang out with me. I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing today? What live are we talking about today? Who's the person on the call today? And my daughter will jump in and like, and she will like say, hi, what's going on?
I think we've solved the puzzle here. I think you're actually my father. So this all, it all blends together.
Hilarious, man. Thank you so much. I'm honored. So tell me, what was one of your defining moments in your life that enabled you to say, okay, this is what I want to be doing, after the fact of, you didn't know what you were going to do, but you knew that you wanted to do work from home, or run your own business because you watched that in your parents. But what was that one pivotal moment that said, hey, this is what I want to be doing for the rest of my life, or for a better part of my life, that's going to define where I bring my main income from?
Yeah, for me, I think it was a process of several years of kind of narrowing it down and focusing in on, okay, what do I actually enjoy doing? What's fulfilling to me? What can you actually make a living off of? What's something that wouldn't mind at all doing, every day of the year? And so out of college, I got a corporate job, so worked in brand management for a few years. And I love some of the marketing aspects of that, and there's a lot that I loved and learned about the job, but I also learned a lot of the downsides of, what, for me, corporate just wasn't a great fit. Like, I needed to do something more entrepreneurial. I needed to do something where felt like I was starting something new, was solving a solution, and doing something that I was a bit more passionate about. So that kind of sparked the idea in the first few years out of college. And going back and working with that family business for a bit. And it's kind of crazy going from a big corporate job to a smaller
Mm-hmm.
family business, where you're going from an office to everybody working remotely. I
Yeah.
was living in New York at the time, working from my studio apartment, huge as you can imagine. No, I'm just kidding. But it was around the time of, shortly after starting the business, that we were trying to figure out ways to market the company. And in talking with my dad, we just kept going back to this idea of podcasting. Podcasting was getting more and more popular. And with the business, we were helping out and working with a lot of other small business owners and fellow entrepreneurs. So we had the idea of, okay, what if we had a podcast that we learned from other entrepreneurs
Mm.
about the ways they grow their business and the ways that they grow as a leader, and both on the professional and the personal side. And I know this is pretty meta, because this is kind of like what my podcast talks about. You're in this space as well, and it's
Yeah.
an awesome space to be in, and of learning from other aspiring entrepreneurs. But the true insight came once I actually started that podcast, which is the Wild Business Growth Podcast, still my
Mm-hmm.
podcast to this day. It became real. It kind of was like this explosion of ideas of, wow, podcasting is like this really cool thing, and it has tons of benefits. It can do great thing for your business.
Mm-hmm.
It can be great for you on the personal side and help you from the communication standpoint. But also, it takes a ton of time to podcast, and it takes a ton of time to launch a podcast, to edit a podcast, to
Yes.
line up guests, everything, things that you know super well. And so the insight eventually came, all right, this, as opposed to just focusing on doing a podcast for the business and interviewing people and focusing on that side of things, what if I started a podcast service to take all of these podcasting tasks off the
Mm-hmm.
plate of other podcasters and other aspiring entrepreneurs? And over time, after doing that for probably a couple of years at the time, it became clear, this is actually its full separate business. Like this, yeah, it's been great to do as part of the family business, but really it deserves
Yeah.
its own separate business. And so that's where Max Podcasting spun out of Hippo Direct.
Very cool. Well, I don't know who this Max Podcasting, but Branstetter. What's amazing is that you solved a problem not only for yourself, because as you're solving your problem and running your own podcast, and as podcasters and other podcasters listening, we know exactly how much time it takes and energy. So finding that I can help other entrepreneurs enter this space is such a beautiful thing, because not only are you saving them time, but you're also helping them create a marketable evergreen product that they can, that can stand on its own. And in business, they talk a lot about sales and marketing is one of the hardest things that any business can do. And especially because the ads that we see on the internet, the ads that we see on television are of a quality that's designed for the mass public. But if you really think about it, you just need to market to your small niche audience to really, solve that problem that your company talks about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's part of that process of zeroing in on your target market is like you have to actually be doing something yourself in order to
Mm-hmm.
experience all the pain points to it. So I think that's
Yeah.
absolutely spot on, and that's where you get some really good feedback early on of where it's almost like you get feedback from yourself of like where those key pain points are and where a
Mm-hmm.
solution could be most valuable.
Yeah, and I think there's two types of human beings, right? People who want their problem solved, but they don't have the time to solve it. And I'm like, hey, I'll hire somebody to solve it. And then there's people like us who are, we are inventors and we are creators and we solve our problems and offer these solutions for others. And it's beautiful synergy between the types of people that there are, because, we're both getting that help that we need.
Absolutely, spot on.
All right, sweet. So we went through a little bit of your journey on, how you got started, the inspirations you had from your parents, the motivations to start your own company, and which was, the lack of corporate bureaucracy. What say you, the connection. There's really there's a lot of lack of connection or personal bonding that happens at corporate, because it's all thinking about the bottom line, go go go, which is really good because the company needs to survive. But then it becomes a very, being a just a brick in the wall as opposed to the brick itself.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, like I made some amazing friends there, and like there's so many elements of my experience in the corporate world that I'm super appreciative
Yeah.
appreciate if I could pronounce that correctly, appreciative of, and learned a ton from. But yeah, I think it's very tough once an organization gets to a certain size to
Yeah.
keep that to keep that like focus on camaraderie and like such a strong, amazing culture.
Yeah.
while not getting like too worried about the financial side of things. So it's like it makes sense why companies get that way, but it's definitely a tricky thing to nail down.
It is, and some companies that we could point at that have gotten it nailed down is companies like Microsoft or Google or Apple, maybe in the beginning, but over time, all good things must have some kind of flaw. And anyways, that would be a talk for another topic, or topic for another talk, something like that.
I like the alliteration. You got a lot of T's there. We'll roll with it.
Gotta roll with it. All right, Mr. Branstetter, let's take a quick 5-minute break, and then when we get back, you're gonna share 3 hacks to take away for the superpreneurs listening to our conversation, so that they take it away and apply it towards their own businesses.
Perfect. Can't wait.
Awesome. Hey guys, welcome back. We've been talking with Max Branstetter, and he's got 3 hacks to share for you so that you can apply it in your business right away.
Perfect. And 3 is one of my favorite numbers because I've never said that before. It's not actually like my favorite number, but it is a number where you can memorize 3 things. It's not too many. Mm-hmm. So thank you. I really appreciate you lining this up. But
absolutely,
my first hack is to leverage your network, because and this is especially relevant for anybody with a podcast or YouTube show, any sort of community where you have subscribers and connections, because that network, as long as you kind of stay on everybody's good side and check in with people every now and then and just be like a good, genuine, nice person, that network stays with you and grows with you throughout your career. And when you're at the point of launching your own business or launching a new podcast, launching a new video show, something like that, leveraging your network can be the difference between an okay, not so exciting launch and a launch where, holy cow, we went from 0 to 60 and now have tons of momentum with our brand new thing. So when I look back and started MaxPodcasting, leveraging my amazing network of wild business growth podcast guests made the difference in it being like, oh, I don't know if this is a real business, to like, hey, we have a lot of clients quick, and now we have other problems to worry about, but like good problems to worry about. So that's my 100%. First one, leverage your network. My second hack is to be as organized as possible. So specifically through the podcast production lens. When you start to manage more and more clients and more podcasts, it can start to get messy really quick if you're not as organized as possible. So the more organized you can be in terms of laying out your work plan for the week, if you have a team, your team's work plan for the week. Excuse me, pardon me there. The more organized you can be about laying out the production plan for you, for your team, and getting ahead of that to the point that your clients are getting back episodes like a week in advance, as opposed to last minute, the day before the episode is released. All that is what really identifies like what a really smooth, like humming business is in the podcast production space. And that applies to other businesses as well. But the more organized you are, the more you take the time to really plan things out, especially in terms of delivering things to your clients and in customer satisfaction, the better it will bode for your business and for being able to pronounce that line without tripping over it. I can't promise that one. But so then the third one is to focus on quality. So in the podcast production space, each year there's like, there's I don't know what the latest stat is. Like, oh, there's 4 million podcasts now. There's like, 40 podcasts launch every second. Like there's stats like that. Podcasts coming up from everywhere. But there's a huge difference in terms of podcasts that are well put together and awesome quality and people really enjoy listening to, and podcasts that somebody just quickly threw together and you can tell like there was no attention put to the audio quality, the video quality. One of my biggest personal pet peeves is when somebody has inserted an ad in the middle and the ad is like 7 times as loud as the voices, or like 10 times quieter than the voices, and it's literally painful to listen to. So if you can kind of stand on your hill, as they say, and say, all right, our differentiator is going to be a focus on quality, that's something that really resonates with people, and that's something that your clients will be forever thankful to you for, because of course they'll need your help in kind of like what you help with,
Yeah,
Junaid, as far as making sure there's quality for the actual recording, but also there's a lot of quality that goes into play when you're going through the post-production process. So
absolutely.
through editing, even through your marketing materials, whatever you can do to make that the highest quality possible, that reflects back super positively, not only on your clients and their podcasts, but you as your business as well. So it can be a real strong point for you. So these 3 hacks are: leverage your network, stay as organized as possible, and keep that focus on quality. And hopefully those are quality enough answers for you. See what I did there?
No, those are really good. I love it. Thank you so much, Max Branstetter. Those were really good. Having leveraging network is really important because people is what brings the energy into your business, right? So you got to have people, got to have a good system and a definite focus on good quality. Man, what's going on with these words? All right.
Hey, they get me all the time. It's
I
words are tough these days. They're not getting easier.
No, they're not. All right, let's take a quick rundown of these rapid fire questions that I like to ask my guests. Number one, what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Ooh. Well, when I was a kid, I drummed and played guitar, and there's something about drums that I really really like. But at a certain point, I just got away from it, and as you live to, you're living with roommates, you're living in a more city environment, it's pretty tough to pull a drum set.
Hmm.
So it is something that I love doing. Like if there was a drum set right next to me right now, I'd play it all night. I love it,
Yeah.
but I haven't drummed in way too long. So I wish I stuck with it. But I think at some point later in life, I'd love to get back into it more.
Yeah, man, get some of those electric drums. I mean, that's what what's his name? Ant-Man Paul Rudd did
Paul
in
Rudd.
his right. Just put those headphones on, just that's pretty fun.
Yeah, those it's always a good time. But yeah, you gotta. My parents were very super supportive, so I got lucky as a kid in terms of playing the drums. But you hear some stories of families and parents that are not so kind to it, which I
Right.
get as well.
Yeah, exactly. Our next question. What did you want to be when you were a child?
Oh, I actually answered this at the start of the episode without thinking of it. My first love was baseball, and so a professional baseball player is what I wanted to be. And
Nice.
then going back to the last answer, I think at some point it would have been a rock and roll star. So all things that everybody achieves, right?
Yes, absolutely. We
I think
do.
a
We definitely
doctor,
do.
I think a doctor at a checkup one time when I was a kid would like roll his eyes when I told him that. I'm like, hey, look, like there's baseball players and rock
Uh-huh.
stars out there. Like people do it, but obviously it's much harder to do that. Much more common to go into the business world or do something else.
Sure. Absolutely. All right, next up. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
Favorite all time is probably Breaking Bad,
Mm.
and I know that's cliche, but I think I'm going to start rewatching it again soon because finished Better Call Saul, which was amazing, and it's got
Oh man, I need to
got
finish
the
my
juices. Yeah, it's got the
yeah.
juices flowing from
All
those.
right.
Got me wanting to watch it again. But yeah, Breaking Bad's an all timer.
Nice, because Better Saul Call is like the prequel to Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah, and then they kind of blended. There's some parts of it they splice in that happen after Breaking Bad as well. So,
Oh,
but it's
nice.
it's 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 mostly a prequel.
I like it. I like it. I think I've seen 3 seasons or four. I can't remember. I need to go back and check with the last episode I watched so I can go catch up. I think it's all on Netflix now, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think they're up to speed on Netflix. Yeah, so it's
Noise.
great. The
Nice.
Vince Gilligan, the creator behind those shows, is
He's so
I
good.
think a true creative genius. It keeps you on the edge of your seat or
Yeah,
your
he
meth
does.
lab. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
All right, next up, what movie would you choose if you, Max Branstetter, got to play a character in it?
Oh, that is an incredible question. S- I would. I always thought the James Bond movies and the character James Bond were just awesome. I think you got the travel there,
Mm-hmm.
plenty of beautiful people involved,
Mm-hmm.
just doing really, really cool things and
Yeah.
action and crazy scenes like that. So any of the James Bond movies, we'll give the nod to Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible as well. All the action movies like that would be pretty cool to play.
One of the action movies. I recently watched where Ben Stiller and Tom Cruise. Ben Stiller was the stunt double for Tom Cruise. And so this video is probably from 1999, right? And it was on YouTube, and I'm like watching this, and then all these things that Ben Stiller's doing, and like Tom Cruise is right there. It was just really hilarious watching this.
That was
It's
like
pretty
that's
funny.
probably Zoolander era.
Yeah, that
Zoolander
was a
filling in for
Zoolander
Tom
era
Cruise.
exactly, and
Yeah.
he's like coming in.
Oh, great times.
This really good times. All right, next question. Who is your favorite superhero?
James Bond. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, I I have like a weird nostalgia for Batman. Just growing up, I think Batman was. I mean, I, of course, love the newer Batman movies, but
Mm-hmm.
one of my earliest Halloween costumes, there's a very funny picture of me as like the old like 1960s Batman, like the light
Nice.
gray,
Was it light gray?
and I had like the little like like toddler beer belly going on, and you could see my chubby cheeks on my face through the Batman mask. So it was pretty funny. I love the vintage Batman as well as the modern one. It's just it's a really cool story. I know it's a common one, but
It
gotta
is.
love it.
It's a really good one. I like it. Thank you. I, I believe Batman was one of my favorite characters initially as well, and then I discovered Iron Man. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah, Iron
the
Man's taken out.
combination of tech and the that bravado persona, that just pulled me in.
I don't think anybody would have predicted before Iron Man came out of like how huge that franchise and like that
No,
universe has become. That's crazy.
it's
It's Iron
massive,
Man.
so
Shout
massive.
out Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, whoever what that song was by.
Yeah. All right, next up, and the last question: if you were a board game, what would it be?
Ooh, there's so it's actually one of our favorite board games we play right now. I'm gonna say it, but edit this out after if you don't want any slight swear words in it. I don't know if this is considered. The game is called Smartass.
Okay.
So I don't even know if that qualifies. It's referring to an animal, but
No, I don't think it does.
it has the animal on a board game, and it's kind of like Trivial Pursuit or like any of those
Okay.
games where it's like a trivia game where you shout out answers, but it's literally like one person draws the clue or draws the card and
Mhm.
starts listing down the clues that to give you more detail for the guess, and everybody else is just shouting out the answers as much as
Okay.
possible. So the reason I would pick that one is really fun, but I've just always loved trivia, and that's kind of like a brownie points thing, like something hidden gem of podcasting is like the more
Mhm.
podcasts you listen to and the more podcasts you edit, you become better and better at trivia because you have so much knowledge from like all these random categories.
That's so
so
true.
so any
Very,
trivia
very,
game's a
very
great
true.
fit, but I'm a big smartass fan.
I love it. Thank you so much, man. And where can the superpreneurs find you?
Appreciate it. So quick, easiest way is maxpodcasting.com. And all the links to my socials are there. It's just my name, Max Branstetter, on social media. And you'll find the links to my podcast, the newsletter, and everything there.
Sweet. Thank you so much, man. We're gonna be sure to include all the links in the show notes as usual. And this was a fun conversation. And until the next episode, we'll catch you later.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was a real treat.